having, homeschooling and having the opportunities to get our kids involved in lots of different things and things even that they don't want to do that stretch them and grow them and challenge them, I think has been one of the best things in our homeschooling. And I think sometimes when we have special kids, it's easy for us to do, like when my son was young, it was easier for me to dress him so that we could get on with our day. But that didn't teach him how to dress himself. And so sometimes forcing our kids to do hard things that are difficult for them, if we take the time up front to teach them how to do that, the reward pays off for years. I know for Connor, potty training was one of the most difficult things that I've ever done in my life. But I just thought about the future, and I didn't want him to be 20 years old and in a pull-up, because I knew there were people that were like that, and I didn't want that for him. And so I worked really hard day after day after day after day after day after day after year until he finally had that, because it was that important.
Right. Yeah. And it's setting your goals. We often tell parents they should write, especially for children who struggle, to have 3 main goals a year. And it doesn't have to be related to a curriculum, but it helps you focus on those most important things, kind of like the daily tasks that we were talking about. And you have to look out into the future, not just what is today. And that's so easy to do because you have so much going on and it's so chaotic. But I love that, you saying, okay, when they're 18, when they're 20, is this something that we could have worked on so it wouldn't be an issue then?
Well, and don't give up. So like Connor, I taught him, it took me so many years to teach him how to ride a bike. And he, because of his club feet and because his brain wasn't properly functioning, he could not ride bike. And I duct taped his feet to pedals. I ran alongside him. He was never going to be able to get the balance part of it because it was too much sensory information, and he has a lot of vision problems, just all of his issues. I tried so hard. And finally, once his brain was healed, we got him an adult tricycle. And that was the best possible thing that we could ever do for him, because he was able to ride. And once he learned that, then he had some independence and some freedom. So I guess I would just say, if something's not working, just keep looking, keep trying to figure it out. If it's a skill that you really want them to have, just keep working at it and try to think out of the box. So that works for us. That's a very good point. Yeah. It's not always, the end goal is not always going to look like a typical end goal. That's right. But it's still going to get them closer to being able to do something on their own. And that's, the more ability they have to advocate for themselves, to do things for themselves, that's what your goal is, just to progress, not to perfect. That's what God expects out of us, right? Just that we get a little better and we learn lessons from the mistakes that we make and all the things that he's working on in our lives. And absolutely. And he uses our children to teach us a lot of those lessons. Our relationship with our children and the way we see our children is so much like the way God sees us. And I just am thankful that he loves me and he cares about me, and he loves you and he cares about you. And, he just wants so much because we're his children. And so he wants good things for us, and he wants good things for our children. And that's something I didn't say, and maybe this is a good place for me to say it to kind of wrap things up. But, God has created each one of our special children and for a purpose, and he has a plan for their life. And whatever their disability is, from someone who has limited disabilities to someone who has severe disabilities, God has a purpose and a plan for each one of them and for their lives. And so asking God and seeking, like, what is your plan? Because Connor, he said his first words in therapy when he was 5, and he said, "I don't want to." He screamed because I was like, do I have to keep him in a state of stress just to get him to speak? But his brain, the portion of his brain that was affected was the motor function portion. So his language was delayed for years. And even now he doesn't have full language, but he can communicate with us, and he can get his needs across to us. And so,
Definitely. Yeah. And every child has a purpose.
They do.
My parents have adopted 10 special needs children. I don't know if you know that. So I'm the oldest of 14.
Yeah.
And my one brother just passed away a couple months ago. And he had severe cerebral palsy. He was in his late 20s. They really didn't expect him to live past 2. And so I was talking with my mom, and she was, kind of just reminiscing about the impact that Nick had on other people's lives. All the caretakers who came in to care for him, and just how he changed their lives.
Yes.
Because of who he was.
Yeah.
And, because of his laugh, and because he could enjoy things from a perspective that we can't. And so that was God's purpose for his life. And to embrace that for your child, that, whatever God has for them as his purpose is important. It's part of the testimony that he's putting together on this earth. That's right. Someday we'll get to see it all put together. But it's important.
Yeah.
And just be encouraged that you're encouraging that part of their testimony to just live it out.